So today I'm going to build a feral cat box. It's an insulated box for outside cats. All the walls are insulated, the floor is insulated, and the roof of it's insulated. So I'm going to build a total of 4 of these and stack them up and put this box like in a barn or on a front porch so that the cats can go in there and stay out of the weather during the winter time. The first thing I need is a base that's 22 inches square. So I'll go ahead and get started framing that out. So those two are 22 inches. If I want the whole thing square, I'm going to make these two 19. So 20, 21, 22. And we'll cut a 22-inch square of plywood. So this is just a 1/4 inch thick plywood. I don't need it very thick because it's the insulation that's actually going to keep the cats warm. So these are 22 and these are 19. So when I put them together, I'm going to have a 22-inch square. Just going to worry about the top board for now. Make sure it's lined up perfectly. I'm going to fit the bottom board in there. And the side boards. So this is the base. I'm not worried about attaching the 2x2s together because the plywood's going to hold it all together. And before I put the top on, I'm going to go ahead and cut some insulation to fit in there. And when you're messing with insulation, it's a good idea to wear gloves because this stuff will make you itch. This doesn't have to be perfect. Again, it's just an outdoor shelter for cats. Now this is an R13 insulation. It's made to fit in between 2x4 walls, so 3.5 inches thick, and I'm only using 2x2s, so I really have to kind of stuff it down in there to make it fit. And if it's too bulky, you can always peel a layer off and kind of thin it down a little bit. All right, so there's an insulated floor. Now we're going to start with the walls, the side walls. I need a top board and a bottom board that are both the same length as this base, which is 22 inches. Now if I want the overall height of the wall to be 12 inches tall, then I'm going to cut support boards that are 9 inches so that when I stack these boards up, I have 9 inches in between them, then I'll have a 12-inch wall. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4 9-inch boards and 2 more of these 22-inch boards. I'll just go ahead and build both walls at the same time. And I need 4 9-inch boards. So now when I put those together, I've got a 12-inch tall wall. Now I need to cut 2 panels that are 22 inches by 12 inches. And since I'm building additional boxes, I'm going to go ahead and cut all 4 of them. That'll be my 4 inside sides. And these sheets of plywood are 4 foot wide. I need 12-inch sections. And if I needed true 12-inch wide sections, I wouldn't be able to get it out of a 4-foot wide piece because the saw blade is actually about 1/8 of an inch thick. So I would be 1/8 inch short on each of my 12-inch sections, or at least it'd be 3/8 of an inch short on my last 12-inch section. So I'm not going to be real precise about it. Instead of cutting on the scrap side of the line, I'm just going to cut right down the center of the line. It'll be off, each panel will be off about a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch, but I'm not going to stress over it too much. Trust me, the cats will never notice if one of these boards is 1/8 inch off. I'm going to put this board on the inside. Now I'm going to build the front and back walls. So I'm going to go to the inside. So I need 18 3/4. I need 4 more of these 9-inch tall boards. So right now I got to cut the plywood. I'm going to need 2 for this box and 2 for the next box. So I'm going to cut 4 panels that are 12 inches tall and 18 3/4 inches long. Hi, buddy. You come to help? Get him. Next, I'm going to make this one the back. Now for the front, I need to be able to cut a hole out so the cat can get inside there. But what I don't want is a gap between this board and the inside board, so debris can get down in there, the insulation can fall out or get wet. So I cut a solid piece of a 2x10 and put it in between these boards here, and then cut a 6-inch hole through that, and that's what fills the gap in between there. So right now I'm going to cut a 2x10, just 9 inches long, and nail it right in the center. So now I want this piece of scrap 2x10 kind of centered up in this opening so I can put a 6-inch hole right in the middle of that. And now I can put this wall in here. So now I need to cut the panels for all 4 sides. And I'm going to start with the 2 side panels first. That way when I put the front panel on, it'll cover up the edge of the side panel. So I need 22 by 13 7/8. Alright, so before I put that on there, I'm going to throw some insulation in there. I want plenty of staples in there because that insulation is really pushing that thin plywood out away from the board. And now I need to cut the plywood for the back and the front. Like 22 3/8 by 13 7/8. So now I need to cut the hole out for the center so the cat can get in and out. So I have a 6-inch hole saw, but it's not deep enough to get all the way through both layers, the plywood and the Tuba-10. So what I'm going to end up doing is cutting as deep as I can with the hole saw, and then I'll finish it off with a jigsaw. So right now I've got that thin top layer of plywood in here, so I'm going to pop that out so I can get a little bit deeper on that Tuba-10. You just have to take your time and let the saw blade do the work. Don't try to force it. It is cutting because you can see all the fine sawdust around the edges. So just take your time and let it work its way through. Now, since that didn't go all the way through, what you really have to be careful of is this jigsaw blade is going to bottom out in the bottom of that cut, and you don't want it bouncing around. So you got to start it at an angle and get the blade to cut all the way through in one spot, and then you can push it all the way down in there. So you can see now the blade is all the way through in one spot. So now I'm going to finish cutting out the circle. So the hole is cut all the way through, and now I'm going to go ahead and staple this plywood to the Tuba-10 on the inside and the outside. That way it doesn't pull apart and debris gets stuck down in there. Now I just have to build the top. So I don't want to measure this tight. I want to leave about a 1/4 inch gap total, so I'll have about an 1/8 inch all the way around. So if I measure this at 18 3/4, 18 3/4, yep. So I'm going to cut the boards 18 1/2 to fit down in here all the way around. Now I need an 18 1/2 inch piece of plywood that's square, 18 1/2 inches. I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of them so that I have one for my next box also. Alright, so that's the bottom. Now I got to put some insulation in this and a cover on it. So my cover is going to obviously cover the whole thing. It's like 22 and just a shy half. And I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of these also. So I have one for my next box. Okay, so this piece is going to be nailed to the bottom of this piece. The problem is you don't know exactly where to put it and keep it centered on there. So a good way to do that is to lay this on there just the way you want it. Hold it in place and then reach your arm through the hole into the box and mark the bottom side of that, the inside of that wall. And then you'll put this board, center it on your lines, and you should have about an 1/8 inch gap between your line and this board all the way around, because we made this part of the box a total of a 1/4 inch smaller than the opening. So the first thing I need to do is get some insulation inside here before I forget. And I'm going to use the bottom of this as a sawhorse. So now I'm going to center this in those lines I drew on there, and then very carefully flip it over so I don't move it. And before I staple it completely up, I'm going to go ahead and double check to make sure I'm centered in those lines. So I got about an 1/8 inch gap all the way around from those lines. Then I can go ahead and staple it the rest of the way up. There, it fits like it was made for it. And that's how you build a feral cat shelter. So this can be painted and sealed to protect it from the weather, or it can be placed under a shelter like a porch, or under a house or a barn or something. You can weather protect this, or you can, if you're not gonna keep it out in the elements, you can leave it just like it is. As you get several of them built, you can stack them up You can stagger them like that. Gives the cat a little landing platform to get in and out of the hole. You can stack them like a pyramid. You can put them side by side, however you want to do it, and build as many of these as you want.